So, alhamdulillah, a lot of it stems from there. And of course, family and support structures are crucial. So yeah, this is kind of me. But my majority three roles, I think, over and above what you mentioned and what else there is, are that I'm a daughter, I'm a wife, and a mom. And
Alhamdulillah.
so everything around me, and every other duty I have and every other action, etc., is based on those three roles first, because those are Allah given to me. And if I do those to the best of my ability, then everything else, inshallah, it is always made easier.
So you've told us part of how you've managed to accomplish so much while still maintaining your Islam so profoundly. How do you balance it all?
A lot of it stems from you being your epicenter and finding that, you know what, no matter what I'm going through, I am still responsible for me. And when you actually sit and you realize that when I speak to Allah and I say to Him, I'm going through this, but I'm leaving it to you, actually leaving it to Him and in your face, knowing that He's around you, makes it easier for you to cope with everything. Because then you know that your source of inspiration and your source of actual growth and your source of the strength that you need is coming from who gives you your life anyway, as opposed to you trying to rely on it and trying to achieve it from those that, might have their own issues to have to contend with. The whole idea is to try and really focus on you, develop you and grow you. And even in your faces of adversity and whatever trials you face, to realize that those are not there because they're trying to burden you. Those are given to you because Allah in Himself already knows that He knows you can get through them. So find yourself and find your resilience in who you are, your core, and build yourself in your epicenter. Because when you do that, then alhamdulillah, the family and everybody around you also grows from you. So,
Mehreen, you're an amazing woman. When I look at this brief CV that I have on you, I can't believe you have achieved so much.
alhamdulillah.
I should imagine you have a very strong foundation. I'm thinking support system, parents, siblings, spouse, children, etc. They all play a huge role in your journey of growth and achievement. But then what stands out for you? What is it, this amazing support system, this drive within yourself, to be better, to be bigger, and to be able to touch lives around you. Having said all of that, respond to that, and also, what were the challenges you had to overcome? And what stands out the most for you in terms of all of your achievements? I know it's a tough question because there's so many, but what stands out for you?
I think when I got the Humanitarianism Global Award from the UNGIA, that was a huge question mark for me, as opposed to just acceptance. And that's because I wondered, well, where did this come from? Because what I do is I do for people, and it came in the midst of me going out in a pandemic and doing feeding as a frontliner in locations, and doing my own awareness campaigns and doing little bits of counseling here and there for the women and children, and of course doing winter drives, etc. So it was all based on what was happening in 2020, and started off there. But then I realized that it actually wasn't what started off in 2020, because my humanitarian efforts and all of my being, and even my first lecture, started when I was very little. It stems from my history. It stems from where I came from. So then I realized, you know what, all of this is actually me. It's me. It's been me from the time of being me as a little girl. I grew up with my grandfather, who was my mentor and who was really the epitome of humanitarian effort. And I used to run around with him, tagging on his pants and making sure I just saw what he did. I'm going to visit a patient and I say, well, Nana, so who is this? And I don't know. So why did we visit them? Because I want to make him smile. Small little acts of his is what I do today. And I realized, oh my word, that's actually where this comes from. It's not something just mundane. And then the lecture, for example, in my empowerment exercises, I gave my first lecture at the age of 13 to a group of women and children, spontaneously just brought to the platform, and I spoke off my heart. And I realized, wow, as much as I've studied and I've done everything, yes, to the book, you actually do end up doing what your passion is. And when you find that is when you build on yourself. And then your support structure falls into place also, because, yes, I was always this people pleaser, somebody. I wanted to make sure mom was there happy, dad's happy, everybody's always proud, stuff like that. And eventually you get to a point where I need to find me and what makes me happy. And that's not being disrespectful. That's what I needed to learn. That was the number one challenge for me. Is that I learned, through difficult times, that finding you and being you and standing for you does not mean that you are being disrespectful to the next or to your parents or to your family. Standing for you and growing you and finding the best version of you can actually make them proud. So when I eventually took to being me and who I am and standing for me, alhamdulillah, it does create the pride in them. So there's a lot that goes to it. And the thing that we need to also remember is, even though we as special as we are.
Your call has been placed on hold. Please wait.
Oops. What's happened there? Are you still with us, Mehreen? Okay, we just seem to have lost it, that very crucial moment or interesting moment in the discussion. We have Mehreen back again. Mehreen, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you again.
Okay, sorry about that. Okay,
No
Mehreen,
problem.
let me ask you this question. What does empowerment actually mean? How would you explain it in terms of your roles? And of course, I know you alluded to your granddad. I'm sure he was one of the greatest role models in your life, but other role models?
My key role model, my mentor would be my granddad in terms of the physical aspect of how he would do what he would do, etc. And of course, watching him. But when it comes to me, empowerment firstly does not mean you're becoming powerful over somebody else. That is the one thing I get across to everybody.
Okay.
It means that you're growing yourself, finding yourself, being aware with who you are, being honest with yourself, and then self-developing. So growing you to the best version of you. So whether you're a wife, you're a mother, you're a sister, you're a teacher, you're a professional, whatever you do, you're actually being the best version of you in the role that you play. Because remember, Julie, what we do is throughout the day, we actually encompass many roles, especially as women, but so do our brothers. You are a father, you're a mother, you're a sister, you're a brother. You have to maintain whatever your role is throughout the day, and duties according to those roles have to get done throughout the day. So remember, you are already having to take on many roles with many responsibilities all the time. The whole idea for empowerment is to be the best version of you when you have to do what you have to do in those specific roles. When it comes to me and a role model for empowerment, this concept of empowerment really is something we hear of now continuously all over the place. Alhamdulillah for that. But I truly believe empowerment existed 10 years ago. And so my role model in terms of empowerment is Khadija radiallahu anha. Because an epitome of an empowered woman especially was her. Absolutely. There was your businesswoman. There was somebody who actually was proposing to somebody she wants to get married to. She was so forthright in her beliefs, and she stood by what she wanted to, even in her faces of adversity. She remained true to who she was, her identity, etc., etc. So empowerment existed back then, 1400 some odd years ago. So it's not only something we have now. So if we want to take anything, we need to take the fact that empowerment is actually what Allah wishes for. Grow with it, grow with yourself, and develop you to the best version of you for His pleasure first, obviously, and then obviously being for your pleasure, and those around you will feel empowered too.
You lead a very busy life. You're involved in very many different projects. You do a lot of outreach work as well. How do you see yourself going forward? If you need to whittle down some of the work you're doing simply because there's just too much that you've taken on at the moment, what would you let go? What do you believe is closest and dearest to your heart and important for you to continue doing?
I think that's an on-the-spot one, but I really can't see myself letting go of any of them. I think what I would do is I'd probably have to bring on someone or train someone to do one or two of the things so that the stuff keeps going. The legacy of what I'm doing is not to keep a name up, it's to make sure humanity gets served. Our women and our children have a foundation that is built. So if I have to let go of something, it would have to be firstly when the foundation is built enough for me to have people there to make sure that keeps going, because that's a continuous cycle. And my number one priority is, of course, to remain true to Allah and to my family. And whatever it entails, and I know lots of my family and whatever we do is based on humanitarian effort. In giving is healing, in giving is pleasing to Allah. So in whatever way that I can possible, that will maintain. But I really cannot see myself letting go personally. I totally let go of the going out, the going out into these locations that I do
right.
now, etc., etc.
Okay.
But again, if I let go of it, it would be to actually make sure somebody else is doing it on my behalf.
Then let me ask you the final question. You talk about going out into the locations to do all your outreach work. With the current situation in KZN post the riots, we're still hearing things on the ground that there are going to be some more uprisings going forward. Phoenix is on fire as we speak. What is it that you're doing, and what are you urging the rest of the community to be doing to heal the different communities and to bring everybody together?
The number one key right now is we need to prioritize what are key for the people to keep going. And the key issue we're facing is to make sure everyone is getting aid in whatever way they can to keep surviving on a daily basis. The mental health issues are the next pandemic that we're facing, over and above the virus at the same time. So mental issues, remember, became difficult when we had to start facing with the virus. They've just compounded to another level altogether with what happens with the virus. So if somebody, for example, had lost it or managed to keep a job throughout the virus and they sustained it up until now, and the riots are burning down a building and taken away the job completely, can you imagine the mindset of that person? So that alone becomes inner frustration that's built up because, for example, somebody can't look after their family anymore, etc., etc. But so in terms of actual physical help to try and sustain lives, that's what we're busy with now. That's crucial because people do need to survive on a daily basis. And alhamdulillah, so many volunteers that I have are also out there, and we have multiple organizations joining forces with me to do stuff, and we have amazing sponsors too. But when it comes to the mindset and to people, the number one key is to understand one thing. If you start to look at your fellow neighbor with a color, then there's an issue. We need to all look at ourselves as fellow South Africans right now, not fellow Indian, fellow Black, African, no fellow colored, not fellow white. We're just fellow South Africans right now, going through turmoil yet again. But we have to understand that we went through the week of riots, for example, where people stood on their roads and it's after their roads. But look at it from the broader perspective. A man or a brother from a home was not, and I'm talking mixed race that was doing this, per community, per road. They did not sit out there to value and to look after only their house and their infrastructure. They sat collectively to look after their neighborhood because they have that kind of brotherhood and they really have that kind of resilience in their communal effect. So why break that down now based on a race? Let's focus on what is positive out there and build up the peace. Build up the peace that we know we have because our kids play together. Our kids go to school together. We've been doing this. We've fought enough to get our struggles fought to make sure we are able to live the way we live today. Yes, we do have difficulties. We do have issues at hand. But to not have peace is going to become and throw over everything that has been hard worked for. Build yourself in peace again in your mind to know, I do have my family. I do have gratitude because I do still have what I have. I did not lose me. I did not lose my family. We stood together. We still stand together as a united South African community. So building the peace and your mindset, number one, within your family, speak and also speak peace lingo around you and your kids. Don't become adverse in your speech and make sure people think of you or your kids see you in this light of anger continuously. We've all been through so much difficulty and no one can undermine losses either. Losses of life is something that is not easy to have to contend with. But do remember, we have to get through and past that in peace to be able to build for tomorrow. Because we do have to build. There's a lot to have to build up from. And we can do it collectively.
Wow, that's all I can say. Mehreen Mia Cassimjee, what a pleasure to have had you on the show today. Undoubtedly an amazing inspiration to the rest of us. Go well. May Allah accept all your efforts. Assalamu alaikum to you.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ameen.
9:36 exactly. News and views on Salam Media on this Women's Day. Hope you are being spoiled by your loved ones.
These days.